So this is October 31st, 2008, and it's a Pathwork teleconference on Pathwork Lecture 201, Demagnetizing Negative Force Fields. And where I thought I would start is what we were chatting about a bit before, and that is that sometimes the lectures can seem deceptively simple. Sometimes logically they're so clear that you wonder, but where's the work? You know, now what do I do? One of the things that I have found in the Pathwork lectures is that there is an extraordinary shift in paradigm in how the lectures present reality. So the guide presents reality as being larger than human comprehension. So we have part of the story, we have mirrors to the story, we have allegory, we have as in heaven so below, as below so above. So we have clues and hints, but to some extent what the guide is saying is that we may do the equivalent of only seeing in black and white when the reality is color. So we see extraordinary shades of black and of gray. But in the spirit world, there's such an exponential increase in reality, in dimension, in depth, that we need to take our reality with a grain of salt. We need to take our reality lightly and not presume that it is everything. But there's a place where human beings do presume that what they see and hear is everything. Okay? So, for instance, the guide talks about, we talked a while back about dreams, imagination, and the guide says that in the spirit world there are a multitude of dimensions. Let's pick a figure of 20 just for the sake of argument. Let's say in the spirit world there are 20 different dimensions, whereas here there are 4, maybe 5 dimensions that we can work within. If we go into spirit in our imagination or our dreams, or if we are able to contact spirit, when we try to bring that information back, it's in effect we have to translate from a 20-dimensional world back into a 5-dimensional world. And in that translation, round pegs may have to fit into square holes. That it's not easy to describe the reality of spirit in the 5-dimensional world that human beings live in. So for instance, in this lecture, Demagnetizing Negative Force Fields, when it was given 40-odd years ago, society in general wasn't as comfortable with the idea of energy. The New Age was still working out the kinks in its communication and its methods and its technologies. And so the idea that there were force fields of energy, the idea that human beings held an auric field, an energetic auric field, the idea that we interact with each other by doing, and I say this lightly because of course I don't know what it looks like, but the idea that we communicate with each other by throwing bolts of energy back and forth between each other, or bioplasmic streamers. The idea that when I think of somebody I love, I am actually in contact with them in the spirit realm, even though I'm here and they're still in the city that they're in. These ideas were fairly novel or new back 40 years ago. And now it's easier to accept them. They've been talked about, they've had so many disciplines talk about it, and you get so many examples that it seems more reasonable than 1 or 2 people saying these things that didn't seem to square with our reality. So in the Demagnetizing Negative Force Fields, the paradigm that I'm getting to is that the guide says that, and this is repeated many, many times, every thought creates a world. Again, imagine that. Every thought, every feeling creates a world. Now, in my mind, I see this this magic bubble blowing machine where every thought and every feeling I have creates a little bubble that floats away, and it's a world. And I just see this as being almost a comedy routine of my creating worlds upon worlds upon worlds, day in and day out, endlessly. And if I'm doing that, and you're doing that, and he's doing that, good grief, how do you have room to work? And yet the guide indicates that there is no lack of space in spirit, that we never get crowded. It doesn't seem to think that we have to slow down. But if every thought and feeling creates a world that in the spirit world you can see and touch and feel and experience, that what this lecture is about is that when we generate negativity, okay, we are generating a force field of negativity. Okay, so however you imagine that to be, whether you're covered with frothy bubbles full of negativity, whether you look like Charles Schultz's cartoon character of Pigpen and you're carrying lice and debris around with you, however you imagine a negative force field, like you're a magnet and you've got a whole bunch of iron filings sticking out like crazy hair from you, that we magnetize negativity to us, and it creates a vortex, a force field, that will in turn generate or attract negative force fields in others. Again, if I simply say that, somebody might say, okay, I'll buy that, and, okay? But it is important for us to get this on a very personal and intimate level. And on a very personal, intimate level, what this looks like, and I'm going to joke about this because it's easier, is I remember when I was a child and I was grumpy, my mother would tease me and call me Little Chief's Thundercloud. And if you have that kind of grumpy, miserable persona and you're stomping around, what this lecture basically says is that like attracts like. And instead of inspiring the good witch Glenda to come cheer you up, what you'll inspire is another grumpy person to join forces with you. Because the other grumpy person tends to like the fact that you make them feel normal. And now the two of you can grump around together and feel like you're having companionship. So instead of feeling negative, you can actually feel some companionship in the being grumpy and negative. So this is the kind of force field we're talking about. Another joking way to try to describe it, it's as if we all have little radio towers coming out of our head and we're beaming things out. And if you beam positive, you attract and generate positive. But if you beam negative, you'll attract and you'll beam and attract negative. So you're basically energetically saying that you enjoy and wish to participate in negative activities. And so the opportunity to participate in negativity will come to you. So what the guide is saying in this lecture is that if you are in a space where a lot of negativity is occurring to you, that one way to work on this is to look at how you're generating a negative force field. And then to look at how you can stop that, not abruptly, not artificially, but to find the place in you that is sending out the negative force field and making the adjustment of attitude inside yourself so that you are not sending out this negativity and creating this force field. Then if you choose, or the next step might be to send out a positive force field. But this is not a flipping the switch kind of thing. This is a way of looking inside at your inner attitudes where you are generating this, rather than this happening to you.